Community Preservation Act Committee to convene a hybrid meeting on Wednesday, April 19th, 2023 at 6 p.m. at the Hadley Senior Center at 46 Middle Street. And on the Zoom meeting.
And then the administrative.
In accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022, signed by the Governor on February 16th, 2022, I announce that this meeting of the Select Board is being recorded by Hadley Media, the Select Board's office via Zoom, and ask if there's anyone present who is also recording this meeting.
Who would want to?
No one is responding that they are.
Let the minutes reflect that no one else has indicated that they are recording this meeting. Would the CPA committee and the finance committee please come to the front tables? Thank you.
I thought I turned them on. At least some of them.
All right, David, do you want to call your meeting to order?
Yes, I'll call the Finance Committee meeting for the 19th of April to order. And in attendance, we have Paul Benjamin, Shergil Parmar, Andy Klepacki, David Phil, and Amy Fiden.
Thank you. Mary, are you calling yours?
I'd like to.
I don't think it's on.
Yeah. I'd like to call the CPA meeting to order. We have Andy Klepacki, Edwin Matusko, Denise Barstow-Mans, Mark Dunn, Mary Thayer, Andy Morris-Friedman, and I'm looking to see if Risa Smith-Fried is on. I believe she'll join us shortly.
She's not as of this moment.
Okay. And that is a quorum of our committee.
All right. I assume you have all seen the memo that came out from the town hall financial team. If you have not, we have some copies up here. Thank you, Carolyn.
Did not either.
Do you think I need to read this for the audience?
I can share it if you'd like.
Yes, that would be great. Jennifer's going to put this on the screen, so those of you who do not have a copy of it can see it.
Look at my glasses.
Thank you, Carolyn. Make it bigger so people.
Of course. How's that?
That's good.
Might even be able to.
Stretch the screen.
I think right there is going to be the best I can do.
All right. Someone from the finance committee.
So this is from the finance team. So just so that this is a response to some questions from actually members of all three committees wanting to get input from the finance team, which makes up of our tax collector, our assessor, our finance manager / treasurer, and myself. Okay. And this was the discussions that we've had, and as you can see, as it started, it's the recommendation in a memo, and the reasons are explained in support of the feasibility study article only.
Mm-hmm. Right. Questions regarding this comment? Anybody have comments, questions for the finance team?
No, not questions for the financial management team, but
comments
and ask of the CPA committee.
I was looking at the
survey
here, and
Hadley residents stabilized building with community preservation funds. It says 58%, but I think it looks like it's more like 63%. 42 plus 21 is
Which line are you looking at?
the highlighted box there.
The 42 is not a Hadley resident. So the 21 and 37 are Hadley residents.
But it has Hadley resident highlighted here at the
Right.
top there.
Yeah,
Not
the
Hadley
top
resident
is-
below it.
Yeah.
So shouldn't it be 42 plus 21?
No, it's 21 plus 37.
Well, the 20, so that's 42 are saying it's very important.
Mm-hmm.
20, but then the gray box is somewhat important.
So do we negate somewhat important? Is that what we're doing with this? I'm just asking. So we're taking out people that think it's somewhat and calling them zero?
I don't follow your question.
So
Does it really make a difference?
I think the top
I don't
numbers
think so.
are compilation of this whole thing put together.
Mhm.
And that's what's giving us the top
Okay.
numbers, not individual lines.
Well,
Can we hear what the CPA committee?
well, no, you're combining the 21 and the 37
Right? For
So-
58%.
for what? Saying that they don't support it? Because people that are 21% say that they somewhat support it. So you're taking this people that somewhat support it and you're turning it into a negative, saying that they don't support it.
Who did this chart?
Linda,
Linda? You want to talk about how you've done these numbers, please?
Right, I have a little trouble with my screen here. Can you see me and hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is, it's saying half do not believe it's very important. Very important is the 42%. And we've been hearing that is 42% think it's very important. That's countered by the fact that 58% do not think it's very important. The purpose is not to say, the purpose of bringing out that 58% don't think it's very important detracts, pulls away from the sense of urgency that has been given to the project, that we're hearing that so many people are in support of it that we have to go forward. We may go forward, but the question right now is, do we go forward so quickly that we don't have time for a feasibility study? And that seems to be what's happened lately. I mean, don't have any reason to criticize this survey except for the fact that it's being used to provide a sense of urgency that this is what everybody wants. And the point of this is, no, it's not. We have 58% of people who do not think it's very important. And I assume that very important is being used by the committee to say, so we have to do it right now. That's all. This is not about whether it ultimately gets done. We're not negating anybody. We're just saying, hey, it's not that important to do right now. And that's further support for this position.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So, just to sort of summarize where we're at, the CPA meeting committee met several times, 3 times, and usually we meet 2, but at the second meeting, we asked the Russell School Committee. We weren't comfortable voting on this yet. We wanted them to talk more with the select board and with others in town to get more support on what they're trying to do, and also to understand things better and have the process, and also feel like the numbers are really where they should be. And, they took a month and did work quite a bit, and they worked with Carolyn to put together this proposal for a feasibility study by the Architectural Heritage Foundation, which sounded very good. And we met again, and we did make a vote. So I appreciate your input and what you want to do. And I guess I want to ask the Finance Board and the Select Board why you're asking us to reconsider, and give you a chance to say why, why we're here tonight.
I want to know how much you were actually considering the $1.2 million.
So
Where were you on that without looking at the total picture of a feasibility study having not been done at this point? It had been done, a number of years ago when I was on school committee. So that is a long time ago, let me tell you. So that then said, we haven't done another one for that building. And what the use of it would be and what it would actually cost and what
Right.
needs to be repaired. We have a general idea because they have done their due diligence in saying what needed to be stabilized, roof, so on and so forth. But do we go forward with that? Was that your feeling? I wanted to know your feelings on,
okay.
do we want to put the cart before the horse and not get the feasibility study done first and then go forward? I don't think it would take a whole lot of time and effort to get that feasibility study done. And then we could go forward either with the fall town meeting or the spring meeting next year, depending on how quickly that study could be done, was my rationale for my thinking of what
I think that makes
feasibilities
a
are.
lot of sense. And at the meeting, I thought I had tried to clarify that the feasibility study would be done first. And I thought there was verification of that, and I might have misunderstood because that was my understanding was they would do the feasibility study, and then they were very anxious to get going on this and didn't want to, once they had the more concrete figures, to be able to go right into this. And we did caution them that this is a much bigger ask going for the full amount, but they very much had wanted to do that. It does fall under the CPA guidelines. We do have the funds, though it would use up most of what's available. And for me personally, I felt the 6 members that were there, it'd be good to have the town weigh on this and not just the CPA committee weigh on this. However, I think because my understanding now, and I guess I'd like some, again, verification that the Russell School Committee didn't want to necessarily wait until the feasibility study was done to start in. And that wasn't my understanding when I voted. So I think for me personally, but I'm only one of 9, or I think 6 that are here, 7 that are here tonight. It does make sense to do the feasibility study first. And I think knowing what's ahead for the town to decide what they want to do to the building makes a lot of sense. It's a beautiful building. It'd be great to see it saved, but for what purpose and for what cost eventually. But again, I'd like others on the committee to weigh in.
Well, the select board feels very strongly that we don't want to spend money without a feasibility study because, and I want to check with Caroline, did AHF say they would be able to have this done by fall town meeting?
Yes, and we've
All right.
had that discussion. I think I just want to refer back to the consultant's statements, which I've used in documents that I've sent out to all the committees, including Russell School, is that they were very clear that they gave options of their scope of work, but they also said that they did not support stabilizing it. I'm trying to get the quote exactly. And I think one of the confusion is that this was a feasibility study to get quotes. That's not what it's for. The feasibility will include quotes, but it's giving the town options to look at. And I think one of the concerns with doing the stabilization ahead of this, and I've been very clear that this has been a concern of mine on behalf of the town, I work for you guys, is that part of these options that we may choose, the stabilization would be a part of the renovation. So that's been my concern about having that something that's a part of the funding in September. But I'm sorry, in the fall, annual town meeting. So I think I included the draft of the scope of work, and it gave all options: a public project, public-private partnership, private project, demolition. And although the consultant does not support demolition of historic buildings, a review of the process, procedure, and costs for such action will be included in the report, which is what some of the town, as well as members here, have asked about. So I just wanted to kind of clarify what that scope was, that it wasn't just giving us estimates, that part of those reuse options may include the stabilization of it, because you'd have to stabilize it to renovate it. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Well, and Mary too, I mean, I think, from my standpoint, I mean, first of all, hindsight's 2020. And we've kind of got things out of order and put the CPA committee in a bit of a spot, just the way that the information flowed. So and I'm sorry for that. So I think what I'm hoping tonight is it would be great if the CPA would consider funding that feasibility study. That would allow us to remove Article 18 that was drafted. If you would consider amending your article to strictly include the funding for the feasibility study. And again, then based on that, we'd be coming to presumably the fall town meeting.
Okay, David from Finance has something.
Yeah, the finance committee didn't vote on either of those articles just because we had mainly concerns about using free cash as a possibility to pay for these. And then I'll say personally, I wish this had been brought before the finance committee, before it went to CPA for that ask, because there is going to be a financial impact to the town if the building is stabilized. Even if CPA is able to cover the entire cost, which I can almost bet will be more than 1.2 million in the end, but there's going to be costs going forward to maintain the building, insure the building. Right now, we don't have insurance on the building, is my understanding. And as you can probably tell from our budget last week that we voted on, I mean, we're scraping every last penny to continue on the right path here. So there's a financial ramification, whether we stabilize the building, do nothing, tear it down, whatever it is. I think the feasibility study needs to be done by somebody who is independent, and there is no emotion involved in the process, which there's been a lot of emotion involved in the survey and the process so far.
How many times are we going to study this? How many times are we going to do a feasibility study of this building? Didn't
It's
we
only
do
been
one?
done once.
I-
Only done once.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. When I was on school committee, that's when we did by Margot Jones from Greenfield.
Possibly.
And well, I know.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Okay.
And then that was done back before the elementary school was built. So that's over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's when that study was done. So definitely there needs to be another feasibility study just to have people run through it, to get us up to par, to let people know exactly what that building is. I'm certainly for having a feasibility study so that we can, get this done and everybody can know what needs to get done and where we're going to go with it. I don't think you can make a decision on anything until we actually know what's been said or what needs to be done. I think we need everything in front of us. The due diligence of the Russell School Committee has been great. I appreciate all their hard work, but I think the facts need to be put out there by somebody that does a feasibility study and that we can make a good decision.
I think that the town, I think we are doing a disservice, and the Russell School a disservice, if we do not have complete information for the residents to vote on. Because if we just say, once again, here, this would be a great thing to do, and yeah, we think it's going to cost about this, that's not what they need. They need to know what's going to happen with the school, what are the plans, long-term plans, and then costs if there are costs involved.
Madam Chair, Randy Eisner's
Feasibility.
phone.
I want to reiterate too that the CPA funds cannot be used for the normal maintenance, so it couldn't cover the additional maintenance or insurance. And it also, nowhere is there near the CPA funds to do what the next phase might be, even if it is stabilized. So it is a decision that very much impacts, the town beyond the CPA.
Mark and
Randy too.
Mark?
If I'm understanding this correctly, I mean, I can't speak for the whole committee, but my vote when we went forward on this, we went around and around and around, was very much swayed by the repeated passionate explanation that the building was falling apart and that we needed to spend this for it to make it. Are we saying that is not true? That's what I'm getting, is that that the building's fine for another 6 months while we do the feasibility. If we had been told that, I think that would have changed our opinion. But what we were told was that it was gonna fall apart if we didn't fund this. So
It
it
may
sounds like
get a
we were
little-
misled.
So it may get a little wetter, but it's not gonna fall apart.
And let me clarify who was at that, when these consultants came out to give us 5 hours of their nonprofit entity. By the way, we'd be following procurement to make sure if that goes out to bid, so we're not saying this, we're gonna go with this firm. But our building inspector was present. Our fire chief was present. Our building maintenance person was present. And I asked the consultant, I said, is this building in imminent danger of, deterioration? And they said no. And they loved the building. It was beautiful. And I think we all love the building. It is gorgeous. Yeah.
All right, so that would change, I think, in my mind, what I think would be a strong driver of our decision to fund as much as we did.
So full disclosure, if you have an earthquake, I'm not sitting that building document. You never know. I just don't want to, I don't want to say it's in stuff, but I thought that was the question I asked. Tom is here. I don't know, Tommy, your thoughts? Are you in agreement with what the consultant shared?
Yes, at this point, it's 6 months.
Jane.
Not saying it's not going to get a little more, weather, but about an earthquake or something, I don't see it falling down.
Randy?
Yes, so to Edwin's point, I hear him wondering how many times we're going to do a feasibility study. I get there's frustration in town, but I think the current board is definitely in favor of moving this forward and getting it before town meeting so that a decision can be made, a final decision about what to do with that building. But as Jane said, we need the right numbers in order to make a good decision. And then a second issue I have is I want to make sure that if CPA is willing to fund the feasibility study, it does not get rolled into the request for the $1.236 million, which would give the Russell School Committee carte blanche to do whatever they want with that money after the feasibility study came back.
Well, except for the fact that the Russell School Committee wouldn't be overseeing that. That would be a select board thing. Once money gets involved, the select board is the spending agent, if you will.
And the select board's not requesting the funds. We're just requesting the funds for the feasibility study.
Right. And accordingly, we have a proposed Article 18 that we would like the CPA to consider. I don't know if you all have a copy of it. Can you pull that up?
Jane, why don't you read it?
I'll read it.
You did send it to us.
Excuse me, Courtney has been waiting to speak. I don't know if you're seeing her hand up.
I see her hand, but this is a meeting for the Finance Committee, the CPA, and the Select Board. All right, so Article 18.
Oh,
To see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $40,000 from Community Preservation Historic Set-Aside Fund or Community Preservation General Fund for the Select Board to engage a firm to undertake a reuse feasibility study for the Russell School or take any other action relative thereto.
so moved.
Isn't it?
Want me to read it again?
No,
Does someone want to second it to discuss it?
So I just need clarification. You guys would need to clarify the funding source within your CPA.
Right.
It would come from the open,
general fund?
the historic.
historic
There's enough
set-aside.
money in there to,
Okay. Now, part of it has us as a committee going back to February saying, listen, we've got to vote on this right away because the select board wants to know what's going on. So what's being done now? Here it is 2 weeks before the town meeting and you guys are asking for money from the CPA to fund a feasibility study? That's wrong. I'm sorry. You don't wait until the deadline is about to be done and then say, oh, well, we need this money. That's wrong.
Edwin, I think what they're really asking us to do is reconsider what we already voted on, and basically instead of the full 1,236,000 is to only provide 40,000 and only do the feasibility study. So
Right
they're
now.
asking the CPA committee to reconsider this. So this
Right
is kind
now.
of like an emergency CPA meeting to.
Yes, I understand that, and I appreciate it, and I know, but I think it's just.
Well, in this, as I understood it, we were voting, when we voted on this, we were voting to include the feasibility study. That was
Correct.
what I was told.
Right.
So therefore, we did approve the feasibility study. So
Right.
we're basically now just separating it out.
So are we thinking of amending this article?
We're being asked to, and that's something that we as a committee need to discuss right now, if we're willing to do that. But right now, we have a motion to provide just the 40,000. And then we can discuss whether or not we want to continue with this or if we want to withdraw our recommendation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't want that. I don't want to really.
I don't know how joint meetings work, but
I
if we want to speak amongst ourselves, Andy's hand is up and then I'm you.
And we may have others on it.
Yeah.
Just very briefly to address Edwin's point. If we don't vote for the study now, then it'll be another 6 months for the study, and then another year at the earliest for the emergency renovations of the building. So by going out of our sequence in this situation, we speed the timetable up by 6 months. And I think that's why the select board is asking us to do it now. But I think there's a way through the CPA process to solve this problem, which is the grant agreement for the 1.6 million. Often in CPA projects, there's a grant agreement after it's approved by town meeting where the details are worked out. And part of the grant agreement can be that this money cannot be spent until the feasibility study is completed. And that way in town meeting, we can vote for both. And we don't have to wait 6 months for the big expenditure. So the CPA committee can put the Article 18 on the warrant. Both can be discussed and voted on for town meeting. And as part of the grant agreement, we can state that the money for the emergency repairs cannot be spent until the grant agreement is, until the feasibility study is finished.
I think we could also just specify in the article, if we wanted to go that way, that the feasibility study is done first.
That's another way to do it.
Mark, what are your?
I guess I was. Listen, I was thinking that we were being asked to revise it from 1.2 down to 30,000.
Or 40.
40,000.
Yeah, and we are.
Or are we splitting it and that there will be two votes, one for the study and one for the full?
So we are being asked to basically substitute for only the 40,000.
Right.
Which,
So then we're reducing it and we're not going to even bring to town vote the stabilization that was expressed as being urgent.
and I think that there's a better chance for Russell School down the road of having something done with it if we do the feasibility study first. I think if people are asked to, approve 1.236 million, that without knowing what's going to happen with it, there's less of a chance that anything will happen to it.
And I would be happy to share that I walked out of that meeting a month ago with the resolve that I was going to, if nothing happened between then and now, in a town meeting, I was going to get up on the floor and offer an amendment to reduce it to just the study and the roof. So that we wouldn't, because I didn't think it was going to fly through town at 1.2. I thought if we just repair the roof and do the study.
Yeah.
But now I'm not sure if I'm hearing that the roof isn't being mentioned. So then I'm probably in support.
I was thinking of doing an amendment just for the 40,000 at town meeting.
But isn't there a rule that limits the amount that you can change spending in a warrant article?
Not at this
We-
point.
1.4? No? Okay. Okay.
Mary, can I just make an argument about why I don't think it would be a good idea to include the other piece?
Yes.
One of the worries that I've had is I always hate to go to town meeting with anything that has the potential to confuse people. And my worry is that if, and I understand, Andy's suggestion, but if we were to include the funding, we're still going to wind up having the conversation on town meeting about should we put the money into the building? People are going to be coming up and asking, what are we going to do with the building if we put the money in? Is there any chance? I mean, Edwin would probably be the first one to say, wait a minute, we're going to put 1.2 million into a building. What's the plan for the building? And we're going to say we don't have one. So I think that's in large part why we've backed off and we're just focused on the 40,000. We just think that that's a cleaner position to bring to town meeting, knowing that when that feasibility study is done, we'll have the answers to all of those questions that people are going to ask, if indeed we're then asking for the stabilization or whatever.
I'd like to also ask if there are any other on the CPA committee that would like to say something. And Andy.
Yes, hi.
Thank
Thank you. Looking for my hand raising icon, having a hard time. Molly, although I'm going to, I appreciate what Molly just said. She pretty much sums up, I was not in support of this article going forward, primarily because of the big question is we're putting this money into that building, 1.2 million, 1.26, that we know will severely hamper the CPA's committee ability to fund all those other great articles that we're funding on town meeting floor that we're in support of. So we would lose that. We still have to answer the really big question of what will we use it for? And honestly, and I'm still questioning in my mind where those numbers really came from. I know they came from a 2019 study that was based on a 2013 study, and there were a number of tasks that were picked, and then the number was adjusted for 2023. I think that I would like to see, if we're going to be getting an estimate for a roof, a hard estimate for what is that roof is, not just a soft estimate based on past experience, but one that has an architectural or engineering stamp on it that says that if you repair this roof, it's going to last. And by the way, if you do these tasks that are being put before us, we actually are going to preserve the building while we figure out what we're going to do. But we still have to answer the big question that in everybody's mind is, what are you going to use this building for? And I think we really need to have that question answered if we're going to have any success moving forward on any other front. Thank you.
David, Bill also has something to say. If you want to hear from finance, Bill has his hand up.
David?
I just kind of wanted to echo what Molly said. Town meeting, hard questions are answered. And at this point, we don't have any of those answers from the financial perspective of things. We have no idea what it's going to cost going forward. If we decide we're going to use it for office space or whatever, we have no numbers to put with any of the options for the residents at this point. So I think it's very important to know what the future use is going to be, if there is going to be a future use. and exactly what it's going to cost and what the impact is going to be to existing buildings. You know, we have a new DPW possibly on the way, things along those lines. The budgets are super tight. So, you know, if we have to pull money from somewhere, it can't come out of thin air. It's putting other budgets at risk. So I think it's important that we know the total cost.
One of my concerns goes back to when we didn't have any of our new buildings, but the library had been awarded a grant by the state and they went to town meeting to ask to have it approved, but they had no plans for the seniors and they were voted down because there was not enough information. And I just don't want to see the Russell School have that happen simply because we don't have information for the town.
I have oh, go ahead.
So I just wanted to say that it was probably about 3 years ago with Russell, when I was on CPA, at least I would say 3 years. And we did approve the fixing of the roof for Russell School, and it hasn't happened. So I don't think 6 months will be a huge difference.
And there was 8,000 approved, and when
Yes.
I went to actually look at what it would cost to fix, the 8,000 wasn't nearly enough. So that did stall that. You're right. And the money was returned to the CPA fund.
Yeah.
I have a question. So I am completely in support of doing the feasibility study. But my question is, based on the how the resident part of the survey, only 9% of people wanted to demolish it. So my question is, I don't know how, let's say if we were to sell it in the future, I've only sold a house once in my life, but can you do like an as-is addendum? Because typically when you sell a property, it has to be at least stable to do so. Right, because you get a home inspection. I'm assuming that there would be a building inspection in order to sell it. And in order to sell it, you would have to have it stabilized.
We could sell it as is.
Can you do like an as-is addendum?
I think that that's, again, the cart before the horse. I think that that's hopefully down the line if the town has the information on what the options are. That obviously is an option. It has to be an option, but hopefully that would only be made with a lot of information on what impact it would be to the town. So I don't know the answer specifically to that question, Amy.
I guess my only point was like, I think it might have to be stabilized down the road anyway.
Right.
So I just hope to the ether that if we do this feasibility study, we spend the $40,000 to do it, that we are also do our due diligence on the second half of that. So we're not waiting another 10 years to do something.
And you know, one thing that our concern was from the beginning was that we don't want to have something pass a town meeting that then isn't comprehensive enough to then put out to bid, because then it can't happen, it can't go forward. So if that's one thing I like about trying to do the feasibility study is, you know, if the town then goes forward and knowingly sort of with, here's a goal for what we want to have happen, there's also the data needed to actually make it happen. And that's a big piece of that. I think it's a better chance to get through town meeting to at least get the feasibility study. And I think it's more fair for the people in town to know what they're voting on. Go ahead, Andy.
So just in terms of the process for tonight,
Right.
we have a motion for the $40,000 for the feasibility study. If we vote on that tonight and we pass it, then the select board is asking us to withdraw our support for the larger expenditure. And that's, then that would be removed from the town roll.
It needs to have CPA recommendation to go to town meeting. So if we withdraw it, then it would no longer be on the warrant. I mean, I think the other way to do it is to amend the Article 18 that we voted on, but this may be a cleaner way, is to do it separately.
But we have a quorum here, so we can do that, if that's how people want to handle it.
So for the 40,000, is there any other discussion? I'm looking at Denise and Andy.
Denise has her hand up.
Denise Barstow.
Hi, I know that this is a meeting for the Select Board Finance and CPA, but since Courtney wrote the application, I'd be interested in hearing what she has to say before we vote. If we thought that was appropriate.
Very good. Courtney, would you like to chime in?
I would love to. I have lots to say, but I'm going to keep it to at least clarification question follow-ups. One is the amount of money that has been reserved for repairing the roof. We were reading minutes from March 7, 2017 that said that there are $58,000 reserved for roof replacement as a line item from the DPW. I don't know what happened with that. I just want to reiterate that the roof has active leaks and I don't know if they're being patched or repaired, so it's going to get pricier the longer we wait. And then in terms of a feasibility study, a feasibility study was done for municipal purposes in 2019. It has not been as long as Joyce had said. And we have also laid out countless ideas of how to use the structure based on interviews with the community members, including Town Hall and Hopkins Academy. And then a clarification on the survey. I just wanted to point out that the stabilization was the most popular option at 42% of people who strongly support stabilizing it.
Thank you, Courtney. And again, we appreciate so much all the work the Russell School Committee has done for research and following up and work on this, and hope you'll continue.
Thank you.
Is there anything else from the CPA committee before we take a vote? So all those in favor, and I guess we'll do the roll call vote. Andy Klepacki, this is in support of the 40,000 for the feasibility study.
Yes, please. I wanted to clarify what we were voting on. So Article 18 to vote to support the feasibility.
Well, this will, yes.
This will replace.
This will replace Article.
1.2.
Well,
Yeah.
no, we have to do a separate vote.
We have
I
to
think
do
we'll
our
do a
support.
separate vote to withdraw the
Oh.
recommendation. So this is just for the 40,000 for the feasibility, and then we'll also do a vote to whether or not to withdraw our support for the 1.236 million
Okay, I
that
voted.
we are.
And the article that I'm voting on right now is,
40,000 for feasibility study.
then I am in favor. Yay.
Denise Barstow-Mans,
Aye.
Mark Dunn,
Aye.
Andy Morris Friedman.
Yes.
I'm
Edwin
gonna
Matusko?
abstain on that one. 'Cause I
Okay.
think we should have done this long time ago.
Okay. Mary Thayer is aye. So there's no one else here from our committee, correct? Okay. So 5-0 and 1, and we're a 9-member committee, so that's a quorum.
That's a quorum.
We just need a majority of those present.
Okay, right.
So
So there's 6 of us here. Then I'd like to make a motion that we withdraw our support for the 1.236 million that we had previously voted on. All right. Any other discussion on that? Yeah, Andy.
I just want to be clear from a personal point of view that I am not withdrawing my support for the project.
Right.
I think that this is actually the best way to get the project approved. That the proposal wasn't quite ready, but the committee thought that it would be best for a town meeting to decide.
Right.
Even if we vote to withdraw it, town meeting will still get to decide in 6 months.
Correct.
Hopefully, the building committee will submit it again with the improvements and updates.
And work with through the select board for proper chain of authority, sort of, if that can be ironed out as well. Because that'll just make it clearer for us on what on where we're at. I thank you. That's a very good point. We're absolutely not commenting that. We're just saying this is not the correct time, and we'll do the first step and then do the second. Any other comments from the CPA committee for this vote?
No.
All right, all those in favor, Andy Kopacki, to withdraw our approval of the 1.236 CPA application.
Aye.
Denise
Yes.
Barstow,
Yeah.
Mark Dunn,
Vote aye.
Andy Morris Friedman,
I'll abstain.
Edwin?
I'm gonna abstain too. Because I don't think we should.
And then I will vote aye. So it's 4-0-2. What do you want?
Thank you. Now, before you leave, Finance Committee, you had not voted on this warrant article yet. Would you please consider a vote now?
Absolutely. If I could get someone on finance to make a motion to recommend the new Article 18, and then we can vote on that.
I'll make a motion to recommend new Article 18 for supporting $40,000 for a feasibility study for the school, Russell Street.
I'll second.
Okay, I got a motion by Paul and a second by Andy. Any discussion on that? All right, I'll roll call it. Shardul,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. And then, Jane, do you need anything else from us?
No, thank you. You can adjourn your meeting if you would like.
All right,
That's
Paul,
my favorite line. Yes, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
all right. So a motion by Paul, second by Amy, and I'll just roll call it. Shardul,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. Thank you, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
I'll make a motion to withdraw, to end our meeting as well,
Thank you.
The CPA.
CPA
I would
meeting.
second.
Roll call, Andy
Yes.
Kopacki,
Yes.
Edwin,
Yes.
Denise,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Andy,
Yes.
Mary, yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you
Thank
for
you all
your
for
time.
Thank you for having us.
through that.
Yes,
Let's work together more in the future.
Yes.
yes.
Sure, we meet every week now, so. Be here, but enjoy yourselves. Some days.
It's windy.
Yeah, that Wi-Fi is kind of iffy up there, you know?
All right. Moving on.
It's
Public
something from
comment.
last
Are
year.
there any public comments?
I remember the call.
Dan,
Yeah.
come to the microphone, please.
Thank you. Dan Regish, 16 Lane, Russell School Committee. Really disappointed with shameless and disrespectful reaction to the survey that the people filled out. They're expecting to have forward motion on this. I understand that your point of view is this will be putting the cart before the horse. But in fact, a feasibility study for what use? We did one for town hall in 2019. Joyce said that they did one for school back in what year?
Over 20 years ago.
So 2 feasibility studies, as well as Old Mohawk, which was a stabilization study. A hasty decision on this building? I think not. I think that, it's time. If you think that 6 months isn't going to make a difference with this building, the roof is leaking. And I haven't heard word that anybody is doing anything about it. Not putting plastic on the floor and putting buckets to create, collect the water so that it doesn't damage the interior as well. It's just, it's disappointing. I I would expect more from my select board when you look at the survey results to be behind the majority of the people. That's what we're doing as a Russell School Committee. We're behind the majority of the people and we're working for the people. To imply that we are being reckless or irresponsible with town's budget or funds. I understand that the DPW project is the next big project in town, tens of millions of dollars. This building, we voted for money for the roof several years back and it hasn't been done. You know, our idea with 1.236, you know, the numbers that I'm getting, I've been putting numbers together for this roof, and you would be pleasantly surprised how much it would cost to do a synthetic slate roof, which was advised by Mass Historic. Saves you a ton of money. To delay that project 6 months is, you know, and then it'll turn into more than 6 months, especially if we have a select board in charge of the money that generally doesn't see fit, you know, to put any kind of effort into saving this building. This is about our town's future. It's not about what I want. It's about what the people of Hadley have, you know, they answered the survey. And I know there's more people in Hadley than just our committees and our, you know, our boards. There's more people than just hang out at the library, and there's more people than hang out at the Legion having dinner tonight. We have to respect their opinion, and by the survey, I think we're doing a disservice to you know, just get rid of that Article 19. I think it was irresponsible, and you know, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Courtney?
I have a question about Article 18 for presenting it at public forum and town meeting, because the Russell School Committee does not support Article 18 as it is currently written. Will the select board be presenting that?
Yes.
Select board or CPA?
We can talk about that.
We'll talk about that when we get to that part of the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Any other public comment? Oh. Yes.
Hi, Andy Morris Friedman. The CPA usually does not represent proposals at town meeting
Thank you.
to stay objective.
All right.
So I don't think it would be our committee.
Thank you for the input. All right, consent agenda. We have warrant PR 2320. Short and simple, no minutes. Hadley Housing and Economic Development Committee, Justin Pelland.
And man, that he is actually filling the alternate position.
The alternate position. Okay.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Roll call.
Roll call. vote.
Roll call.
Chungalo,
Yes.
Keegan.
Yes.
Nevin Smith.
Yes.
Parsons.
Yes.
And Iser.
Yes.
Thank you.
Go to the beach, Randy.
Tomorrow.
Okay.
Now we're going to do the town meeting warrant, our votes, and also who is going to speak to the articles.
This is getting old every
Carolyn, do
week.
you want to run this one?
Well, I would just go, we reviewed it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I would just go article by article, do your vote, and decide who's going to speak about it. If you have questions about the article in particular. Just let
Okay,
me know.
so Article 1 does not need a vote. Article 2,
That's usually
2,
Carolyn.
3, 4, 5, 6, and 12 are the consent agenda.
Yeah.
can we hit them all at once?
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I guess so.
So because Randy's not here, roll call vote. Chungalo,
Yes.
Keegan,
Yes.
Nevin Smith,
Yes.
Parsons.
Yes.
And Iser.
Yes.
Thank
Right,
you.
We
that's
skipped to
500
7.
on all of them. Good, now we're moved through that.
7.
That takes us to what number?
Article 7.
Article 7, thank you. Prior year's invoices. This is paying past bills. Select board recommendation. May I have a motion?
So moved. Or a motion to approve Article 7 as presented.
Second,
Motion in a second.
Roll call vote, Chungalo,
yes.
Keegan,
Yes.
Nevin Smith,
Yes.
Parsons,
Yes.
and Isaac.
Yes.
Thank you.
The omnibus budget.
Do you want to assign as we go?
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
Who would
So
like to do consent?
You.
Oh, I do consent?
Mhm.
Yeah. I do too.
wait, this is a good plan.
Get what you asked for. Yes.
All right.
Administrator always does the consent agenda.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
X.
former.
All right. Prior year invoices
I can.
and budget stuff in general should probably be one person, right? Okay.
Prior year invoices is just administrative.
Right.
The budget usually is the finance committee takes the lead on it, so it's just a question of whether or not the chair or the town administrator want to give a little bit of a preamble, which we've done in the past, just to let people kind of know generally what they're voting, and like a summarization of your.
Yeah, Amy's been doing that as the chair.
Okay, okay.
But it would be David.
Okay.
So he
All right.
would do what Articles 7 and 8?
Did we vote on 8? Yes, we did.
We haven't voted on 8
not
yet.
voted on 8.
Okay.
Motion to accept the omnibus budget.
I'll second that.
Roll call vote, Chungalo,
Yes.
Keegan,
Yes. No, yeah. Long story.
okay, Nevin Smith,
Yes.
Parsons,
Yes.
and Isaac.
Yes.
Thank you.
Enterprise fund budget. Is
So
this
moved.
something? I have a
Second.
motion and a second. Is this something that,
I mean, it's similar to the omnibus budget.
okay.
It's just a different division.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Amy or David.
yeah, finance.
All right. So
Roll call.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the second. Parsons, did you second?
yes.
Okay.
Somebody did.
So roll call
Okay.
vote, Chungalo,
Yes.
Keegan,
Yes.
Nevin Smith,
Yes.
Parsons,
Yes.
Isaac.
Yes.
Thank you.
Number 11, the revolving accounts.
What
10.
happened at 10?
Oh,
10.
10, I'm sorry. Ambulance service.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
Second by Molly.
Roll call vote, Chungalo,
Yes.
Keegan,
Yes.
Nevin Smith,
Yes.
Parsons,
Yes.
Isaac.
Yes.
Can I take that one?
Sure.
Sold.
The bravest.
Revolving accounts.
So moved.
Second.
Everybody's sitting on it. Let's go.
Roll call vote, Chungalo,
Yes.
Keegan,
Yes.
Nevin Smith,
Yes.
Parsons,
Yes.
Isaac.
Yes.
Thank you.
And who's going to speak to it?
I'll take it.
All right. 12, we've already passed. 13,
12.
12 was in the consent.
Oh, right. Okay, sorry.
CPA will go to CPA.
But we need to vote.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Roll call.
Roll call vote, Chungalo,
Yes.
Keegan,
Yes.
Nevin Smith,
Yes.
Parsons,
Yes.
and Isaac.
Yes.
I'll speak to this one.
Do you have to? The CPA is.
They said they didn't speak to their articles.
Well, this isn't really an article, Jane. This is just cleanup stuff. There's nothing here where they're going to feel like they're lobbying for one side or the other. So I think they could do it.
Or we can just say what it is. They were just wanting to extend it.
And then ask Mary if she'd like to
And
speak.
ask her.
So I think you did speak to they speak to their projects.
Yes, they do.
They do.
All right, so we'll ask Mary to speak to that one. And We voted on this, yes?
Yes, you have 500.
Okay. Article 14.
So moved.
Second,
Roll call vote, Chungalo,
yes.
Keegan.
Yes.
Nevin Smith,
Yes.
Parsons,
Yes.
Isaac.
Yes,
Okay, and again, we'll ask Mary.
Okay.
Article 15.
So moved,
Second.
Roll call, Chungalo,
yes.
Keegan.
Yes.
Nevin Smith,
Yes.
Parsons,
Yeah.
Isaac.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, and who would speak to this?
Again,
CPA.
that's CPA or, well, what happens a lot of times, it's whoever requested the funds from CPA. So this would be the Historical Society,
So that's probably Lisa.
Lisa West.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, Article 16, Lake Warner Study.
So moved.
Motion,
Second.
second,
Roll call vote, Chungalo.
Abstain.
Wait, can we?
Yep.
Do we know the reason for the abstention, or is it, or not abstention? For the
One against.
dissent, yeah.
No, but Mary Thayer's outside. I could ask her to come back into the meeting.
I mean, because sometimes they'll say, you know, we didn't support this, we would like more or whatever. Or is that something that's done on the floor?
Would one of y'all step and grab Mary, ask
So
her to join us?
one may abstain, that there could be a conflict there. I'm thinking.
Isn't that the only reason you can abstain is if there's a?
No, they were abstaining. Abstaining, you really can abstain.
I was gonna call that out because I don't think you can do that.
You can't abstain?
Well, you can. You have a reason.
You have to have a valid reason.
Well, then mine's a no.
Yeah.
No.
that- Well, no, I mean, I think
Abstain,
people just
say no.
abstain because no,
She was talking about that.
if you're gonna
CPA.
abstain from something,
know.
you need to have a reason. It can't just be because you don't want to have a conflict. It's like, you're here, you're on a board, you vote. That's what you do.
Jane, you
If
had
you-
questions
yeah,
for
so
Mary?
yes,
We were wondering on Article 16,
the Lake Warner
the
Study.
Lake Warner study, there was a abstention and then there was also a dissent to it. We were just wondering reasoning for the dissent or
Do you
what
remember?
the voting no was.
The abstention was.
The abstention was
was
His wife is on the,
That's why that was.
Yeah, and then the dissent.
Dissent might have been.
we'll have to look back at the meeting. I'm sorry,
That's okay. I was just curious because sometimes someone might have a different insight as to why they're saying no, whether it's too much money, not enough money, or whatever. So, I
You didn't
mean,
get out of the parking lot quick enough.
sorry. No, it
Should have been down by the library.
Thank you, Amy. That's a good point, and I'm afraid it was a couple months ago. And
No, I mean, it's happened before where someone has voted no and they're like, we don't think there's enough
Left the
money.
bill.
it wasn't a
Interesting,
matter
but
of enough money. There's money to do it.
Yeah.
The open space, recreation, and it was that falls under recreation because it's really being done to help improve people's enjoyment of the pond as well as for the beneficial of the pond.
But
as
what
well.
about the people? My contention is that people own the pond that abut the pond.
So I asked our assessor, and he said no. And the Kestrel Trust had owned it, and it got turned over to the Friends. So we did follow up with that question, and
The whole pond got turned over to Kessel Trust,
they have the water rights.
water rights. But the abutters still own the land that abut the,
The butters own the land to the edge of the pond, absolutely.
so is Kessel Trust asking us for the,
So I
money?
contacted Kestrel's Trust and they said that they had turned their ownership or whatever over to the Friends of Lake Warner. And the Friends of Lake Warner is who is asking us for the funds.
and they're not all Hadley residents.
No, they're not.
No, they're not.
They have to be.
No, I know they don't have to be, but that's my contention.
But the funds would be used for land
Lake.
in
Yeah.
Hadley for the benefit of Hadley
Yeah, so it's
residents.
not
Lake
Of
Warner's
everybody
part of
else that
Like they're
doesn't
gonna
live in
join it
Hadley.
Somewhere else other than Hadley.
I don't
They'll
know.
come here and spend money on our local businesses.
And the Turco Park can be used by people out of town. The fields can be used by people out of town.
The senior center and the library.
And
Church public
churches.
buildings.
Um,
And we welcome it, bring your money, pay cash or credit.
And
All
sometimes
right.
we don't know, Amy, why somebody votes no if they haven't expressed their opinion as well during the discussion sometimes.
There's probably a good chance town meeting floor something.
Yeah,
will
someone
ask
might
them.
bring it up.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right,
Okay,
so we have a
sorry.
motion and a second.
I'm looking.
Sorry, run. Before I have another question.
Roll call vote.
Roll call.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the motion in a second.
All right, back to Lake Warner. We had a motion from,
I had made a motion to.
Second.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't catch it. Roll call vote, Chungalo,
No.
Keegan,
Yes.
Nevin Smith,
yes,
Parsons,
Yes.
Isaac,
Yes,
Article 17.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
roll call, Chungalo,
Yes.
Keegan,
Yes.
Nevin Smith,
Yes,
Parsons,
Yes.
Isaac,
yes,
and historical will speak to that.
yes. Russell School,
So moved.
Second.
The new one, not
the new one, which is what's in here. Yes,
Roll call vote, Chungalo,
Yes.
Keegan,
Yes.
Nevin Smith,
yes.
Parsons,
Yes.
and Isaac.
yes.
Article 19.
We
Somebody's
gotta
gonna need
decide
to-
who's gonna speak to 18.
I will speak to that. Unless you want to on the committee.
I can do that.
All right, Amy's gonna do it.
You with all the background information of the feasibility study. Can I just ask, do you remember what fund she said that was gonna come out?
Yes, the historical.
Mhm.
The
Yep,
first,
historical set aside.
Historic
Yep,
set
the whole
aside
thing.
funds.
Okay, thank you.
all right, 19, transfer free cash.
19, we're taking that one off the agenda.
Article
different.
19 is transfer for free
The
cash
new
to capital
19.
state.
Change that. Okay.
Yeah, they're renumbered now.
I need a renumbered here.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, Chungalo,
Yes.
Keegan,
Yes.
Nevin Smith,
Yes,
Parsons,
Yes.
Isaac,
Yes,
It doesn't need to be renumbered. It was two Article 18s.
Yeah.
it's 19 on mine.
okay,
That's what I pulled off today.
all right. Who speaks to this?
Finance committee actually may want to,
Yeah, I think you're right.
because they were very
Finance
passionate
committee.
about this.
Finance.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Article 20.
So moved.
Second.
roll call, Chungalo,
Yes.
Keegan,
Yes.
Nevin Smith,
Yes,
Parsons,
Yes.
Isaac,
Yes,
Randy, do you want to do this one?
I will, sure.
That was hesitant.
I didn't
Article
think he was doing
21.
anything yet.
So moved.
Second.
roll call vote. Excuse me, Chungalo,
Do you think?
I do.
No, I know, but I'm going from 4 to 8%. That's such a, that's quite a jump. I don't know. Yes.
Yes.
Keegan,
Yep.
Nevin Smith,
yes,
Parsons,
Yes.
Isaac,
Yes,
thank you.
I'll speak to this one.
How are we doing with balancing out with select board members?
I don't see Joyce's name anywhere.
Joyce is
She
speaking
did
to
the-
Article 11.
Okay,
Um,
Molly, what are you doing?
I'm doing the ambulance 110.
Okay,
Jane, you have 3,
okay.
4.
I
No,
do.
you have 3. Amy has 1, Randy has 1.
All right, Amy and Randy, you're getting the next.
no, we're
That's
not.
it.
No,
Article
they're planning
22.
board.
That's planning board.
Planning board.
So, yeah, in 21, I don't know, I know Dan's on, would one of the assessors be bringing that up or no?
I would hope so.
Dan?
Yeah, we're prepared to speak on that.
Okay, so it would be one of the,
All right, so it's not me.
Great.
Good. And we don't have to vote on the bylaws, or we do?
No.
no,
No,
All right, we did that. All right. Moving right along, flag flying policy.
I can speak to that. Y'all had asked when you returned from the MMA to look at flag flying policies in our surrounding communities to provide the town with a policy. So I did some research. I came up with this. I borrowed heavily from neighbors far and wide, other communities within the Commonwealth here, and this seemed to be a very good mix of options. I would draw your attention to section 3. I provided 2 different options there, either and this was based off different towns had different ones, and I kind of liked them both, but I didn't know which one y'all would prefer, so that's why they're both there. The first one is that only select board members can make a request to fly a commemorative flag, and you're thinking, what is a commemorative flag? Molly, you want to?
Well, let's inform everybody of the definition, because I looked it up because I wasn't sure.
And I was, what?
So
What's that mean?
the definition is a commemorative flag means any flag which identifies with a specific date. So 9/11, historical event, cause, nation or group of people whereby the city honors or commemorates the date, event, cause, nation or people by flying the flag. And I think the key here is that it needs to be a select board member maybe somebody in the community brings it to your attention, but it's not open so that the entire community can ask to put flags up, that it needs to come from this body.
So, I think, can we just get, for anybody on the line and around, like specific examples of a flag? Like, I know you said 9/11.
I can absolutely. The flag that y'all raised for the Child Abuse Awareness Month on April 7th would exactly be that is a commemorative flag. The POWMIA flag is also a commemorative flag.
The Ukraine flag, given what was going on, that was something that, the select board wanted to show support, which we did. We put it out there. And I think the issue there was also, it wasn't, this is much more specific about, we would, if we agree to fly a flag, we are also agreeing this is exactly how long it's going to be flown for.
Where does it say how long it's going to be flown for? Because I think we ought to have a policy.
It's ambiguous, unfortunately.
Right, I think we need to be specific about it. Yes.
It does state in here that the select board or the town administrator as their designee would state exactly what the time limit is. So for the flag flying that y'all just did for the child abuse awareness, they asked us to fly the flag for the entire month. Last year, y'all flew the flag for a week. And that was what I was going to have done again this year because there was not a policy in place this time. But that it states in here that would be a decision that y'all would make or a decision that y'all would turn over to Carolyn as the town administrator.
I think it ought to be a decision we make and be a specific amount and not a month. If we choose a month, if we choose a week, if we choose 2 weeks, 2 weeks, but not, you can have yours up for a month, you can have yours up for a week. I think we need to be.
Yeah, the way I was reading this was, so Child Abuse Awareness Month. Right. So, I mean, there's already a designated period of time that goes with it. It could be Breast Cancer Awareness Month, right? And so that's where the time frame might come in to tie it to the actual,
right,
whatever it is you're commemorating. Whereas if it's, use Ukraine as an example, maybe, and again, the board would have to vote for it. Just because somebody brings it to the board doesn't mean it's going to go through. But if somebody brought something like that, then I think it's reasonable at that point in time that we would say, okay, we're willing to do that, but we're only going to do that for 1 week.
Okay.
I mean, I'm fine with that. I think it.
And
Our flagpole only has 2. You can only put 2 flags on it anyway.
So, did town council weigh in on this?
They have not yet, but I will say that this flag policy has been approved in the reiteration that's here, it has been approved by numerous town councils. It just hasn't seen ours yet. This was your first read of this.
So
it
we
has-
still need to come back anyway, right?
Oh yeah, and I also would like your feedback. Do you want in section
A or B?
3, which number 2 do you want? Do you want it to come, somebody has to come to a select board member and then the select board member brings it to the whole select board? Or do you want it to come to the town administrator's office and then Carolyn brings it to the board? Because those were the two options that I found were the most consistent way where it was done. And there does need to be something in place so that we know how to direct people how to go forward.
I'm a little terrified about section 3 as a whole.
Okay.
I think that we unfortunately live in a very emotional, hardcore cancel culture right now. So I'm afraid of potential backlash for anybody that is looking to fly certain flags, or they might feel like they're being discriminated against, or they might not necessarily agree with things. So I am honestly worried about that for the town, and any recourse or anything that someone might say, whether it's racist, sexist, prejudice of any sorts. So I'm honestly worried about that, to be honest.
One of the reasons we need a policy was that Boston themselves got into a big problem because they had no policy.
Well, I'm like, part of me is like, no commemorative flags in any sort on public property where it's funded by taxpayers. And you know, there are certain things that I would agree with, like, yeah, let's fly this, let's fly that, but that's my ideology, like that's my personal thing. And so I worry about opening it to other things that some people might find offensive in their own way. So I worry about that. Like, of course, child abuse, everyone's against that. Of course. But okay, what's the next flag that someone wants to fly? There could be some people that were offended by the Ukraine flag, you know, and were. So I think it's a slippery slope. I think it's scary in a time where everybody gets offended by something somehow, which is unfortunate, but I feel like that's where we are.
No, it's a really good
And I
point.
do worry for the town and any legal recourse that might come from that.
Well, all right, so this is a first read. We're all going to ponder this. We'll have more discussion. Now tell me, please, our schedule. Next week, we're not meeting on Wednesday, we're meeting on Thursday.
Next week is Thursday night at 7 p.m. for the public forum. That is
Okay.
correct.
All right. And
So
the
this wouldn't be
following
until
week,
May.
we're doing town meeting.
You have a meeting on May 3rd.
Oh, we
a
do on the
regular
3rd,
scheduled select
and
board
then we have
meeting.
the 4th. Okay.
And then you meet on the 4th as well for town meeting.
All right, thank you. So
Fabulous.
we will discuss this again at the meeting of the 3rd.
Okay, I will move it
Yeah.
on.
You're
And if
killing
you
me.
want to send me feedback, otherwise I can do
Yeah.
some more work.
I think we might need to tighten up like what is and isn't accepted.
I agree, Amy. You put out some very good points
Because
tonight.
it's scary. I
Yeah.
mean,
I don't know
you
if it's
could-
scary, but I think it's the point of can't do for one without doing for the other.
Right. And so part of me is just like, no, just forget section 3. I'm sorry, section 3 gone. Like,
Or maybe we tighten up. I just read that definition of commemorative. So
Mhm.
maybe we take a look at that and eliminate and be explicit what we would accept as commemorative.
Yeah.
So a specific date, historical event.
But what
But
we
not-
might
but
think
not a
is,
cost.
but what we
Right.
might think is commemorative
Right.
isn't what somebody else might think. And the
And-
same thing that theirs wouldn't be what we would think that should be there. So we're going to
Yeah.
run into a problem.
Well, and so, but think we also do the 9/11, right? Doesn't public safety do the 9/11
But we
ceremony?
don't raise a flag. It's just the American flag.
Yeah.
There's not a special flag for it.
There was this last go around. They had the
Was there one Mitch there?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
When the one
No.
came in from
From New York City,
New
right?
York City, that
Yeah.
was the
There's a
9/11.
POW one at
But I don't
the,
think it
at
was.
the,
I
It
don't
wasn't
think
ever raised.
It was never
It
raised.
wasn't on the
No,
flagpole.
it was just a ceremony.
Yeah, so we just want to think through all of that,
Yeah,
make sure we
that's
don't
good. Yep.
inadvertently knock something out there.
I
mean,
mean, looking and
Yeah.
I'll
like
take a
I
look at
hate to
staff.
play devil's advocate, but
No,
it's just like, you could put the POW flag up and someone could say, well, I don't support the military, this isn't, I'm a taxpayer in town, blah, blah, blah.
So I would encourage everybody to do some Googling and see if there's some that you like and forward them to Jennifer.
Okay. Yeah, just for the town, I do worry about
Randy
that.
has his hand raised. as
Randy,
well.
look,
So when this first came before us, the thought of this, I kind of agree with what Amy and Joyce are saying. I figure it's got to be either all or none, because if you don't let everybody in, you're going to get complaints. If you don't let anybody in, then you get no complaints. So we really need to think hard about this.
all right. All right. Yep. So that will be in 2 weeks. All right. Mitch, police department appointment.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
evening.
So we are wrapping up a several month long hiring process, and we were going into this one a little on the apprehensive side. This is our first hiring process where we're bringing in outside candidates directly from the outside into our full-time ranks. Sorry. As I know, Chief Mason has spoken before in regards to police reform. Police reform has essentially eliminated reserve policing, and reserve police officers is how we brought in new candidates, screened them, trained them, and to see if they were a good fit. So this was our first process, and we went in. We were between 10 and 15 applications. And while we were apprehensive in the beginning, I don't think that we could have come out any better with the results of this process. So I'm going to speak about our two candidates that we're asking you to consider. And so just as a quick recap, one of which is a 20-year police veteran. And then, that person that we're asking you to bring on wouldn't need to go to a police academy. They're already fully trained. And then on the other end of the spectrum, the other would be a new police officer with some experience who would need a police academy, but is originally from Hadley. So we've got a 20-year veteran and we have a former Hadley resident. So the first is William Delgado. He comes to us after being a veteran police officer in the city of Holyoke for more than 20 years. He has been a member of their patrol unit, their detective bureau, and has been a member of their drug and gang task force for a number of years. He's looking for a fresh start and a different atmosphere. He attended the police academy with Chief Mason and comes very, very highly recommended by not only Chief Pratt of Holyoke, but other members of the Holyoke Police Department and even other officers from other departments. He currently lives with his family in Southampton, and he would be a valued member of our agency and would be a wealth of knowledge for our detectives and officers. And for these reasons, we are recommending that you appoint him to be full-time police officer for the town of Hadley.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, roll call.
Roll call vote. Chungalo,
Yes.
Keegan,
Yes.
Nevin Smith,
Yes.
Parsons,
Yes.
and Iser.
Yes.
Thank you.
And our second, which is our former Hadley resident, Jalen Ruiz. She's a Hadley native. She grew up in Hadley. She graduated from Hopkins Academy. And following her graduation from Hopkins, she decided to pursue law enforcement. She ultimately moved to San Antonio, Texas, where she was hired by the Bexar County Sheriff's Department as a deputy sheriff. In a very short period of time, she was promoted to the rank of corporal. She is a member of the department peer support team and takes the responsibility of care and concern for her coworkers very seriously. She possesses a master's degree and she's excited to come back home to be a police officer. And for these reasons, we are recommending that you appoint Jalen as a full-time police officer for the town of Hadley.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, Chungalo,
Yes.
Keegan,
Yes.
Nevin Smith,
Yes.
Parsons,
Yes.
and Isaac.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you very
Two
much.
great,
Welcome
two great
to-
candidates, lucky.
No. Phone stop. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Hadley Public Library.
Patrick is not here. I was thinking he was going to pop over, but I have a feeling that he's probably started helping a patron and forgot to join us.
All right, we'll
So-
give him another chance next round. We're busy. We have a long agenda tonight anyway, so. All right, building permit enforcement, building committee, please. Not committee, department.
Thank you for giving me the chance to, mainly just wanted to bring this up. We have it, in the town report and all for the, public that, feel free to call the building department anytime, whoever's, doing work on your house. I keep finding more and more that the contractors are saying they pulled the permit and didn't. And then somebody will tell me I'll get a call and it puts, myself and the homeowner in a tough situation. It worked out well last week. I literally, when I got the complaint or a question if there was a permit, looked, there wasn't. And when I was pulling in, it's the third time the contractor who isn't licensed, but knows better in Hadley. And when he came in to pull the permit later, asked Edie what you usually do. And we usually charge the contractor double. It's tough for a homeowner. And he literally made sure he paid double and was going to take it out on the contractor. But, anytime they want to call, find out that there's a permit. We've also had elderly, and this hasn't in this community that I know, but at my trainings that there's certain jobs that are getting done that are way overpriced. So anytime questions or whatever, call. But they've taken, in the cases that we've heard, it's the elderly twice that way overpriced for what they've charged. Feel free to call on that. And even a repair, anything that's you think is stupid, we do go and put in the program what you're doing. And then if you ever go to sell it, it doesn't require a permit. We still put the date you called. It doesn't require a permit and it's all noted there. So you're covered and we get the complaint, we can explain to them. So just wanted to bring that to the.
So I did have a question. So you drive by and you see somebody adding an addition and they haven't pulled the permit. Do we have legal recourse to fine them?
A person that doesn't have a license, we can't even turn them into the state. Maybe you can, but it's not going to go nowhere. And even when you do, it's at the point after the second, third time now, it's the time too. You have to go to Boston and all, but normally it's slap on the hand the first time and then, maybe 2 weeks. And then they're all working without a license. The last one in our area, I know, and I do keep a file because we do get from the state, anybody who's lost them, to check. And most of the time it is out east, but the last one in this area, next week was seen in East Hampton work. And that I hadn't done it, but he's caught in Northampton and East Hampton caught working on a job. So it's tough. It's mainly to protect the homeowners. We can charge them double, which, hopefully they'll learn a lesson eventually. But.
So if you don't change the dimension of whatever you're doing, or if you're repairing a wall in your house, or you're repairing a board on the outside, or you're replacing a rotted board, you don't need a permit for that, correct?
Normally it's just a repair, correct. And that's why we and I'll tell the contractors as well, just call. We note it. And, there's a couple that all the time are calling, we note it.
I'm just saying
covered.
for the homeowner that's not having a contractor.
Correct.
That is doing the work himself and doesn't know the rules, and they want to replace a back porch. No, if they want to replace
Some siding, a section of
siding or a barn board or something like that, they don't need a permit
Nope,
for that. There's
they
no
don't.
change in the dimension of the building. And am I correct? Because that could be an old thing I'm thinking in my head.
No, you're correct. And it's a repair. That's why I love when they call because I know that then we have to spend the time when they go to sell. Well, they replace the siding and then they come in, is there a permit pulled? And no. But if they had called and they had replaced the section, it was just a repair. We noted no permit required. And it makes things easier, plus it looks better when, I use that as an example, selling the
Right.
house. Because now the realtors and the new home owners are questioning a lot, where these permits pulled, when they're buying the house.
Yeah, I was just concerned about like the dimensions of a house. If you're not changing the scope of the house itself and you're just doing some repairs, windowsills, or you have to have a permit for windows.
Yes, windows, not windowsills.
But windows, okay.
Yeah,
Roof.
windows, roof.
Windows, siding.
Basically, anytime you're opening up a
anything
wall.
like- And
New
regular
garage door?
siding, you have to.
New garage door?
Nope. Gutters don't. Things like that, which, but have to be noted in there just to protect them and later on make things easier.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you.
The other thing I want to make mention of, because I am getting a lot of homeowners pulling their own permits, especially for stoves and pools and sheds and things like that. And I highly recommend for them to actually have the company pull the permit for them, because they really do know. They tell the homeowners that, oh, we don't pull the permit, you need to pull it, but it's also a liability too. But unfortunately, some of the homeowners go online and they do not have an idea of what they're supposed to even fill in or how to go about it. And when I send them back something saying, oh, I need a plot plan or things like that, unfortunately, they don't understand what it is that we're looking for. But these other companies do. So especially the pools, the stoves, and sheds and things like that. They should always have those companies pull the permits, and they are licensed to do it and everything else. It's just something that they like to just put on the homeowner, and especially they do it to a lot of the older homeowners that aren't familiar with those things.
And the good thing with that is we have a copy in the cloud of their workman's comp, because they're not going to get the permit without that, of their workman's comp affidavit, their license and all. So that's the good thing, and let them take care of it for them.
Right.
And I'd like to thank Dee Dee for her excellent service when I came to town hall today to find some back history on a property. So thank you.
Oh, you are welcome.
Thank you.
All right. The board and committee volunteer handbook. Jen, are you going to talk about this?
So
We're just gonna look at it unless you have something specific you want to say.
So I kind of, you're kind of waiting
Go for
on
it.
me to have a first glance as well as you guys. So we had decided that this was probably going to be the beginning of a first read. Jennifer did combine our present committee handbook and then also use some other models that you guys have talked about, and Molly and Jennifer are working on that. But there's just some things that we need to go through some more, and I apologize. I'm kind of holding that up a little bit. I didn't have time to look at it because there's that meeting in 2 weeks. So, Jennifer's made great strides in trying to consolidate this. It's just more to than I think most volunteers. So, first read, take a look, give some feedback.
Okay.
That would be great.
Thanks, Jen.
And we'll put it on the third agenda, please. You think it's too long for the third? Put it on the 18th.
I think y'all are going to meet again on the.
Whatever.
Don't say that in front of Joyce.
No, I was just pointing out that seeing how you're going to meet on May 3rd and May 4th, perhaps you would like to keep May 3rd as short as possible and take this up on May 18th.
There you go.
To give everybody time to recoup and really double down and
And
prepare.
there's a lot to it as well.
Yes,
So-
there is a lot. I don't think it's going
And
to
we're
be
not in
only
a,
a second.
we're not in
I
a
think
rush. for
There'll be
this.
more conversation.
Yeah.
It's not just a one and done sort of.
No.
thing. All right. Car Cider House.
Jonathan Carr is here. There he is, right
Yep.
there.
Hi, everyone. I am applying for a permission from the select board to erect agricultural high tunnel on our orchard that I own with my wife, Nicole Blum. And the town is a co-holder on the APR. And so we're just looking for your permission to go ahead and put up those two high tunnels.
What are they?
Houses.
It's like a big, it's like a greenhouse, like a hoop houses. Yep.
Oh, okay.
They're like a tunnel structure
tunnel type of thing?
It's like it's a plastic greenhouse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What
Is
would
this
you
the
be
same-
growing in them?
Vegetables.
And it's the
Is there any-
property up on the mountain, correct?
Yep, this would be on the lower portion, probably not even visible from the road, just kind of behind the tree line.
Jonathan, does the building inspector have to check that?
I believe, well, Tim Nyhart told me years ago that high tunnels are considered a temporary structure and that they're not regulated through the building permit process.
I would check anyway, have
Yeah.
to just listen to him.
Okay.
Check. the
Yeah,
town.
it's not a. If you, yeah, okay, go ahead and check.
More of the concern of it being anchored properly so it doesn't, blow into McCretsky's or something like that,
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I was gonna say it's a.
Is there anything that you need to tell us about this permit?
When you do it, I would just ask you to motion to approve a special permit for it's actually the Atkins APR
Okay,
is the name of the APR.
okay.
Surprised me a little bit when I read the document, Jonathan.
It's all those apple trees up there.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call vote, Chungalo,
Yes.
Keegan,
Yes.
Nevin Smith,
Yes.
Parsons,
Yes.
and Iser.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very
All
much.
right. You're
Good
welcome.
night.
Use of the reservoir.
I'm going to ask you to skip over that. The gentleman who was supposed to provide me with information never got back in touch with the request. So if y'all could just hold and hopefully he'll be in touch.
Yeah.
Okay.
An egg fight? That sounds really expensive with the price of eggs
I
these
wondered about
days.
that.
Seriously.
Um,
Maybe they have chickens.
I did not inquire
That
about where
sounds
they were
messy.
acquiring them or anything else. I just asked him to provide the information.
What's the reservoir used for?
Recreation.
Yeah, it's just recreational.
No, I mean, but
Sure, if I
there's
want
water in the
eggshells, I'll
reservoir.
open the hell up.
There is water in the reservoir, but we don't.
Do we
I was
use
like
it?
looking for Scott. I don't believe we take water from it any longer.
Okay.
I
We
believe
don't.
it's just.
We don't.
Oh,
Okay.
Don't.
No, my only concern was if you're throwing eggs around like listeria, salmonella, things like that.
right.
Little stuff like that.
Yeah, just the little stuff.
And animals eating them, the dog and stuff.
I mean, he didn't come back to me, so he might not even come back. But he had promised that he would get me the information. And when you're doing the rush to post, you want to make sure you have everything. But he did not get back to me, so
Okay,
I'm
we'll
probably going
hope to hear from him again.
All right.
Okay.
All right. The West property APR.
Okay. For the West APR, these are there's two documents they're asking y'all to approve. They're for coal holders. One is the CPA 1267, which is the modification of the parcel agreement, and that is because the acreage increased and the final restrictions, the NCRS, are complete. And this will add the town as a coal holder on this document. The second document we're asking to approve is the CPA 1265, which is the coal holder parcel agreement, and this describes the parcel terms. And these are for the West APR that was already been approved. These are the sort of next step in the completion of the project. So there's no major changes. It's just having the town on as the coal holder.
Okay, so moved.
Second.
Roll call vote. Nevin Smith,
Yes.
Chungalo,
Yes.
Keegan,
Yes.
Parsons,
Yes.
and Iser.
Yes.
Thank you. And
Russell Street water abatement. Sue, would you like to talk about this?
I can. Oops, hang on. Hello. This is strictly an administrative abatement. The water department didn't tell us that they had shut off the water at the Adams property. There were 2 meters there. And so they were charged 2 access fees. And since they did not have access to the water because it was shut off at the street, we're asking for an abatement.
Motion to accept the recommendation of the collector's office.
Second. Whoever, Amy.
Roll call vote. Chugler,
Yes.
Keegan.
Yes.
Nevin Smith.
Yes.
Parsons.
Yes.
And Iser.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other
Thanks, Sue.
items not anticipated? No, good. I know there's no administrator's report because we have a town meeting.
Thank you.
Other items from the select board for future discussions?
We're pretty packed.
Okay. All right, announcements. Public forum for cable contact. Crack. Are you gonna do
Steve,
that?
Just explain what that is.
What's that?
You want to explain what that is?
The cable contract public forum.
So yeah, as many of you know, we did a survey on how Charter's doing and how residents respond to Charter. That survey is over now, and we are just compiling, just giving a presentation of the results of the survey and bringing any other public input or any other questions that the community has about the survey. To also probably, if it's appropriate, Carolyn, probably give my recommendations on where we should focus on in the next contract. Would it be
So I
appropriate?
guess my suggestion was have the public forum first and then bring the suggestions to this board.
Okay.
Don't give it to the, yeah.
Okay.
And it's a public forum, not a public hearing. I just want to
Public
clarify.
forum.
Okay.
It's laid back and chill.
So did you get,
The date,
do you have a date for it?
Yeah, it's May 3rd, right?
they don't know that.
Oh yeah, it's May 3rd.
Third or first?
The 3rd.
Third
At the select board meeting, right?
at the select board meeting.
Oh,
John,
no.
the select board meeting.
No,
Joyce, you like me.
we don't want any forum at our.
It's
board
me.
meeting. Well, you're very nice and I love you very much.
Just a
but-
reminder, we
No.
are very late in the game with our charter renewal. So we are on a timeline. So we can wait a week, but it's going to make the next meeting longer. So that is, it's the select board. When would you like to have that public forum for the cable contract?
So what's going to happen at the forum? Are you doing the survey results?
Pretty much, yeah. And then
So that's it, that.
that's that.
Okay.
And I go pretty quick.
A public forum, then anybody who's
Yeah.
at the meeting who has something that they want to say or ask questions, that would all be happening at our meeting. I always think of a public forum as being a separate event, but
Should we do it as a separate event? I'm
How bad
okay
is
with
that
that.
meeting?
it sounds like we're on a really tight timeline.
It's something we need to be at.
Right.
So we might as well mix
How-
it with
what
our
do you got
meeting.
packed for the May 3rd meeting?
Oh, you heard me trying to keep it lighter,
Yeah.
so that would leave a little bit of room for this.
Yeah.
And I'm not offended if you want to bump my flag flying over to the 18th as well.
Why don't we
Yeah,
do
that's
that?
fine.
All right, and then
So
we'll have room to do this.
Yeah.
All right, good
Okay.
idea. Thank
Okay.
you.
May 3rd it is.
May
May
3rd
3rd.
it is at 6 o'clock here.
I will not disappoint Joyce. Don't worry.
I'm
She's
sure
got
you-
my eye on me.
I'm sure you will. How many responses did you get?
We got about 2,500, I think. 200, around
Oh my God, I was
250.
We're good.
It's
It's only your language. Don't worry. You got it.
I think I just made up that term, but that's okay.
All right,
Okay.
we're all getting giddy. Let's keep going. Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Yes.
Public forum for the annual town meeting
Next week.
next week here at 6 or at 7?
7
It's
p.m.
typically 7.
Yeah.
7 p.m.
Why don't we do it at 6? What's the problem?
Well, because a lot of people, we've
What?
been through this before. And when you and I were on the committee together the last go around, we had a handful of people who said that because of either their work commute, people who are commuting, people who have families, they want to feed the family, have dinner with their family, and then come to it. And
Nobody
I
has
think
dinner
the-
with their family anymore. No.
They,
and I think the These forums, I don't remember one going more than an hour.
Yeah,
in
and we
recent history.
just to note, because I think we even talked about it a year ago, is I don't think we had anybody attending.
Except department chairs, pretty much.
Yeah.
7 o'clock makes more sense knowing what's going on at the senior center on that. Thursday is the annual fireman spaghetti supper because that was set long before the forum was set.
Oh, so that's
that
here
will,
that night
that
too?
will be here that night, and we'll have cleaned up from that in order for 7 o'clock to
That's
happen.
intense.
And you're all invited for dinner.
That's awful tight.
Okay, Hadley Housing and Economic Committee open.
That we can pass over that.
Okay.
Jennifer and I need to put our heads together. We need to do I'm not sure there is an opening, so we'll do a reconciliation.
All right, executive session, employee handbook.
I have one.
I'm sorry, announcements.
Yeah, of course, I'm not on there. Condolences to Roger Bud West's family. He was a local veterinarian in the area, and he came from the West family up in Hartsbrook, and one of many children that weren't all in the newspaper last night, but he comes from a large family, and there's many of his relatives living in the area, so it would probably take me a long time to get through all of them, but condolences to him, and he was a very well-liked man and veterinarian in the area.
All right, any other announcements? All right. May I have a motion to enter into executive session?
So moved.
Would you read what's written here, please?
Okay. You're the chair. I ain't got no, let's see.
Motion to
Wait.
enter into executive session for the following purposes per MGLC 30A
Did you just take that over from me?
A2
She
to
did.
conduct strategy sessions, employee handbook, and not to reconvene in open session.
I'm going to the bathroom.
All right, we have a second and
Second.
roll call.
Roll call vote. Chandler,
Sure.
Keegan.
Yes.
Nevin Smith.
Yes.
Parsons.
Yes.
And Iser.
Yes.
As
Who's
chair.
Randy?
All right, so
We're
we
not.
can keep
No, you need to say as chair.
chair. Here's my statement. As chair of the Hadley Select Board, I state that the board has moved and seconded to enter into executive session, and that I state that discussing the matter in open session will have an adverse effect on the town of Hadley.
And for the reason, strategy sessions in preparation
And for the reasons,
for the employee handbook.
for the reason of strategy sessions for the employee handbook.
And
we-
not-
and we will not reconvene in open session.
Roll call.
Yes.
Keegan. Nevin Smith.
Yes.
Parsons.
Yes.
And Iser.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
So we're gonna kick everybody out.